Welcome to Help! I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real-life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Welcome back to our mental health series. Over the last 2 episodes, we've been talking about mental health and teens, specifically warning signs and anxiety. And this episode, we're talking about something really, really tough, which is depression and suicidal thoughts in teens and the signs that parents should never ignore. So this is not a fun or lighthearted conversation, but it's really important because you want to know what these signs are. And you may not need them right now in your life, but it's certainly great to have this understanding as your kids are journeying through teenagehood. So Heather is here with us again, and Heather is a professional mental health counselor or licensed marriage and family counselor. And she is going to guide this conversation. She knows firsthand what it's like when kids are struggling. She knows how to support the family and parents. And, you know, this podcast is not a substitute at all for medical or mental health care. We want to just disclose that what we talk about here is meant to be a help for you. And today we're going to talk about the warning signs and when it's time to seek professional help for your child. So tell us a little bit about your experiences with depression and suicidal thoughts, and you start the conversation.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's very common. Our teenagers, just people in general, are going through so much that it is easy for depression to creep in. There's a lot of messages out there in the world, in social media. There's a lot of hard things that are happening to people. And so I think it is very, unfortunately, common for people to have experienced depression at some point in their life. It may not be long-term. It could be short-term situational, or it could be a more long-term pattern throughout their life. It is also common. I don't think a lot of people like to think about this or maybe even acknowledge it, but it is common for people to sometimes have a thought. And that thought doesn't necessarily mean I want to die, but gosh, if this could just end. I feel like suicidal thinking kind of runs along a spectrum, just like other things do, from something as, mild as I can't wait for this to be over to, wow, if I don't want to hurt myself, but if God took me out, if something happened to me, it would be better because I don't have to deal with this. Ways of just, I want a problem to end, up to I could end my life.
Yeah.
And so I think it does go along a spectrum.
And it's usually not a sudden thought where one day a teen is just going to have that thought. Usually it's a slow sink into depression. Usually you see the signs of depression. So what are the signs of depression? What should parents watch for?
So, and I think it's important to note the difference between depression and just general teenage mood. They're moody. They kind of are, hormones and all those things. Moodiness is situational. It could last for a few days. It could be some ups and downs. That's hormones. That's all sorts of things. But depression is clinical. Depression has to have existed for at least 2 weeks. And so it can be so many things. Very excessive sadness, low energy, low mood, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to engage in daily activities, a change in appetite. They could eat more or they could eat less. They could sleep more or they could sleep less. So it's really two ends of a spectrum. But it's that daily functioning where that sadness truly is impacting them.
And when I've seen some kids go through this, I describe it like they're flatlining, like their emotions are just like a flat line. Yeah. Like you can really see it, that they're not, they don't have those happy moment times, not varied emotion. Their emotion is just like a flat line.
Yeah. And sometimes you can feel it on a person. Yeah. You can just sense that they're in a really tough spot emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it different between boys and girls? Like, is that something that is different that parents can notice?
With boys, and this goes for depression, it also goes with suicide. Boys tend to be more angry, aggressive with depression. I don't know if that's gender stuff of, we expect them to be rough and tumble and it makes them feel bad that they're, so then it comes out in anger. I'm not sure where that lies.
And they're also really irritable.
Yes.
Really irritable.
Yes. And I think girls are more prone to tears, quiet, sadness, those kind of things. And even with suicide, unfortunately, what we see is boys tend to have there are fewer boys who make an attempt, but they are more successful. They will use more lethal means. So it's kind of that aggressive approach. Whereas there are more girls, typically based on research, there are more girls who will attempt, but they are less successful. They use more superficial means.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. This is a tough topic because, as parents, we can't ever imagine our teen being so depressed that they would have a suicidal thought. Like, it's just unfathomable. And it does seem like I hear younger and younger children, very young children, finding success with their endeavors. And that's just heartbreaking. So, are there signs, like what can parents, I know we're all just on alert, like what in the world, what do I need to watch for? You mentioned a bunch of the signs, but when is it time to get straight into a doctor's office, or when is it time to really, you may not know what your child's thinking.
I think when that change lasts for, if you get to the 2-week mark, go. But I almost feel like if you've gone through 1 week and your child is struggling, it doesn't hurt to get help sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
You could regret waiting too long, but is there really a regret to moving faster?
Yeah. What are the questions, like, what should a parent ask? Because there's so much going on inside, and they may or may not share it with you as the parent. But are there, like, specific questions a parent should ask to unveil what's going on inside of them?
I think it probably depends on the child, right? But, just simple, how are you doing? I'm noticing, pointing out what you see in them. I'm noticing you're being more quiet than normal. I'm noticing that your hygiene is not as great. Are you okay? Do we need to talk? Would you like to talk? Inviting them into a conversation, and I feel like, because we talked about in the previous podcast, wanting to be seen and heard is huge. And so I feel like the language you use with them of, I'm noticing this, I see this, you are saying to them, I am so in tune to you. I see you're hurting and I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately you can't force them, but opening the door helps.
And so when should a parent ask, are you having suicidal thoughts? Like, when should a parent ask that? That's a really hard question to ask.
I think whenever you feel that behavior, that consistent behavior pattern warrants it. I there's no magical after so many days or so many weeks. You know, I think it's a conversation we almost need to normalize, being able to ask someone, are you thinking about harming yourself? Are you feeling this way? You know, I think if I would hope if we could normalize showing concern for it, maybe we could help people faster.
Yeah.
You know, or at least let them feel there's a little more hope.
Right.
Than where they're at.
And so really, as parents, we shouldn't shy away from that or be afraid to ask that question. That should be part of our language. I think this is like permission. Ask the question.
Yes.
Don't not ask it. You know, ask the question.
Research. I mean, I think, I know OTs have to do it. Mental health professionals have to every 6 years take a suicide assessment and risk management course.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing they say is do not be afraid to ask the question.
That's right.
You are not, and I mean, if there's anything I can stress to a parent, you are not going to cause your child to be suicidal by asking.
Ooh, say that again. Put that on repeat.
Yes. You will not cause your child to be suicidal by asking. If they are suicidal, they're already there.
Yeah.
You're not going to plant a seed
that's going to cause them to think that. Right.
If anything, they are going to go,
oh, she's on to me. She's on to me. Yeah.
Okay. You know, it goes to that being seen and heard thing, you know, and I think the worst thing we can do is ignore that guttural feeling of something is off.
Yeah.
You know,
something is deeply off. Right.
And I wonder sometimes if that fear of asking isn't so much they don't want to plant a seed, but I'm afraid of the answer. And what do I do if the answer is yes?
Yeah.
Because that's big.
It is.
You know, and I even think to myself, I know what it feels like as a therapist to say, are you feel? And we ask every child who comes into the clinic for mental health services, you know, are you feeling suicidal, homicidal, or someone, you know, mistreated you in any sort of, you know, malicious way? And you do kind of just hold your breath for a second. And I remember as a baby therapist, I definitely held my breath. And when they said yes, panic could kind of set in.
Right.
Because I was like, oh gosh, what do I do?
Feel responsible for.
I can totally empathize with a parent asking this question of that fear. But the more we can say, yes, we will ask this question.
I have asked that question as a parent, and it's frightening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the fear of what do we do if they say yes is almost bigger than planting a seed.
Yeah. So parents, don't be afraid. Ask the question or two. As a mom, like, how do you pick up on that there's something deeper happening? Like, I feel like that's the big question parents have is you see depression on your kid, but you don't really know if they're having those thoughts.
Right.
You're riding that fence. Do I ask that question? Do I not ask that question? When do I know for sure I should ask the question?
Right. And let's also be honest, kids are good at
they're
acting and hiding. You know, if they really don't want you to know, they will do everything in their power to keep it from you. And so I think it just truly just watching. And, you know, my mom told me, I always said that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom when my daughter was little. And she goes, honey, the time you need to be a stay-at-home mom is when she's a teenager. Obviously, that didn't happen because I'm working at Marshall, you know, but she was like, that's when they think they need you the least, but they need you the most. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's a different way. It's not, you know, when they're young, it's the physical exhaustion.
Yes.
But when they're older, it's the emotional support and exhaustion that you feel as a parent.
And so I think truly as a parent, we do need to tune in when they're younger. We need to create that communication, that connection. But we really need to hone in on them when they want it the least.
Yeah.
When they're trying to get separation, we need to make sure we are connected.
Yeah.
And it's not smothering them. Like there's a big difference.
Yeah.
But it's just really having a pulse on where they are. because let's be honest, they don't have a pulse on where they are.
No, they don't. And sometimes they'll just say, I'm fine.
Yes.
A lot.
I hear that. I'm fine at my house a lot. Yes.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
But they clearly, they aren't.
Right.
So how do you push back the I'm fine?
I will, at least I can say as a mom, I call her on the carpet. Like, hey, you're telling me you're fine, but babe, I don't see I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I see in you.
You're telling me you're fine, but I don't see you're fine.
And I'm probably a little more blunt in therapy sessions than I am with my own child on that. Really, I honestly treat them all pretty much the same. You are my kid. Like, I care about you, and so in my therapy session, it's like, I'm going to call bull on that one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, kiddo, I don't believe you. Like, but I think as a mental health therapist, I can do that. I don't know that I would encourage a parent to be like, bull, you're lying, but as a mental health therapist, I can kind of do that. And they expect that because that's our relationship.
Yeah.
And so if they're not answering you and you're going, kiddo, I see something like, and I don't want to drive you crazy. Because I will say to my daughter, I'm trying not to drive you crazy about this, but there are things I'm noticing that worry me, and so it's then going, okay, when do I get someone else involved?
Right. When do we get outside help? Yeah. So I always found too, it was hard as a mom to navigate helping your child feel heard, but not judging them like that. Yes. I felt sometimes stuck there. So do you have any thoughts about that? Like feeling heard, but not judging?
I think honestly, just speaking it that plainly.
Yeah. Like
I want hear you.
Yeah.
I know you're saying this. I don't want you to think I think badly of you. Like there is nothing you are going to tell me. And I've said this in therapy sessions. I've said it at home. I've said it with my friends. Yeah. There's nothing you are going to tell me that is going to change the love I have for you.
Right.
But I see you and you're hurting, and I can't help you if you don't help me. Yeah. And by how you can help me is help me understand.
Yeah. And some kids need to hear, you don't disappoint me.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You don't. Yeah. There's nothing you can do that will...
That's going to change my love.
My love for you. Yeah. You don't disappoint me. Like, because some kids hold that pressure. They don't want to disappoint their parents. They don't want to let you down. And when they're going through a hard time, they feel like they are. They feel like they have to fake it or hide or something.
Well, and they want to protect us. I hear that from my own child of, I don't want to add more to your plate, Mom. Like you carry, she worries about me as a mental health therapist, which I find super loving and awesome. And then just like, stop, young lady, stop. But she'll be like, you hold so many people's hearts and I see it. Like some days I can see it was a hard day.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to add to your hard day. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, babe, here's the thing. God made Mom to be tough.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to worry about Mom. Yeah. Like your job is not to protect Mom. And my job's you.
You've been through hard days. I mean, you've been through days where kids have told you they're thinking suicidal thoughts, and then you've got to help that child get the real help, get the next help and get in somewhere where they can be monitored and be inpatient. And
I've taken the call from a father one time whose child was on their way to the hospital after attempt.
Oh.
And I mean, it's tough.
Tough moments.
It's tough. And we carry it too as a mental health therapist. I think sometimes people think we've got all the answers. We don't. We're trying to figure things out. It's not just, they're not just a person. Like they are someone special to us. Yeah. And so we carry that weight too. So just like a parent has to work on themselves, we have to work on ourselves too.
Yeah.
In how we handle these things.
And, I remember being young, probably, I think I was maybe 7th grade when a 9th 10th grader, maybe she was 10th grade, and we had a school where it was all together. So it was like, even though it was different wings, it was a very small school, a couple classes per grade. And I remember this beautiful, popular, just gorgeous girl took her own life. And that was my first experience with suicide. And I was wrecked over it because I looked up to this young lady, and there seemed to be no signs, no signs at all. Like she
seemed perfect.
She seemed perfect. Yeah. So I think as parents, realizing that no one's perfect, first of all, and we shouldn't expect our kids to be. Right. And it's okay to feel depressed or, we have to work through those feelings. Acknowledging and feeling that's okay. And us being educated and sharp on the signs of suicide. And honestly, a healthcare professional had spoken to one of our children about, what you do if you have a thought of harming yourself and thank goodness that professional did that, because that child was able to get the help they needed.
Right.
Or, I don't know. I can't even begin to think what would have happened. And we were supportive and right there for that child through that journey. But, we want to be educated. We want to be prepared, and we want to be knowing how to talk about it. Yeah. So, tough days. The roles of therapists, pediatricians, crisis teams, there's so many people that can support you through this. If you are experiencing this, or if down the road, maybe you're not now, but it can come out of nowhere. It can be a surprise. And if your child would be in any sort of immediate danger, of course, call 911. Call 911. But also, you can request urgent appointments with your pediatrician, or, starting there, or they may have someone, a psychiatrist or someone you can get in to see right away. So when a teen isn't responding to therapy, when is it time to talk medication or some of those routes? Like, when does that happen?
Honestly, different for each child, but I like to assess where a family stands on medication from the beginning. I am not a pill pusher by any means. I do think there are some situations that are so severe, it's just a no-brainer that we need to do something so that we can use coping skills. Other times I feel like we need to work on coping skills and then see if we need an extra step, I think with depression, sometimes they just need that extra help, something to just take the edge off of the symptoms, the physical symptoms they are struggling with, so that they can work with their therapist to learn skills and learn to fight. Because sometimes that physical stuff is so overwhelming and so overpowering. It's hard to imagine trying to use a coping skill.
Yeah. And I think, too, there are risks. So many teenagers that have severe acne go on acne medication, and there is a history, without saying the brand name, of them. But that was our family's situation. Is a child, one of ours, was on a brand name, and I, the mom, knew that was not good, and that whole thing started kind of without me being a part of it. And I think our child was just one of the statistics of that medication. And then a healthcare professional gave the child an antidepressant that then spiraled even worse, even more, and that became a storm. But that was a medication storm. So I think we also have to be very aware about medication and the contraindications of medication, and for you to really think and be careful.
Yes, because medication is not a quick fix.
Right.
And it is not the only fix. You know, I have done this long enough, and I've worked with some amazing psychiatrists. A combination of medication and therapy. I feel like medication needs to be monitored by a therapist, by a psychiatrist. You know, there's not too many situations where I feel like you don't need treatment too.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have someone checking in.
Medication isn't going to be what brings your child into a happy state.
Yeah,
suddenly.
there's no magical happy pill
Yeah.
that fixes things.
Yeah, that's
no matter
important.
how much we want it.
So if parents take one thing away from this episode, so you parents listening, what's one thing you want them to take away?
Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions.
Don't be
afraid of the answer of those hard questions.
That's really good.
You know, and just listen. Listen to your kid. They will tell you more, whether it's through their actions or their words, than you might expect.
And the hard question we're talking about is, are you thinking about harming yourself? Are you thinking suicidal thoughts? Those are hard questions to ask. And we're saying, don't be afraid to ask those. Don't be afraid of the answer. And what message would you want to give to a mom who just feels scared or unsure about their teen? They're not really sure what's going on. What message would you want to give to that mom?
Don't be afraid. You are not alone. There's some wonderful resources and amazing therapists and mental health professionals out there. Do not be afraid to seek help on how to help your child.
And the good news, you all, is recovery is possible. I mean, a lot of teens you've helped a lot through, and I've watched in my professional career too, teens can get the help they need. There is positive, good outcomes, and you can have hope and feel empowered as a parent that you have what it takes to help your child through it. And it does take a level of not being afraid. When you're in the middle of it, it can feel really weighty and heavy, and you've got to care for yourself when you're in the middle of the storm.
And it is okay if it feels weighty and heavy.
It should.
It is. We're
should.
telling you don't be fearful, but it's okay to be fearful. It's understandable
100%.
to be.
Yeah.
Just make sure you take care of yourself so that it doesn't take you over too.
Right. Yeah. And, it helps to have your friends around you and it's not like you need to tell everyone, but you tell one or two trusted people that can be in it with you. And I know that's what got me through when I was in a tough journey with one of ours. And so
I do think that brings up a good point of, don't tell everybody.
Right. Because it's your child.
That's not something we've covered in any of the mental health podcasts, but truly respect your child's business. Yes, it is your business because you're the parent. But you can't take it back once a bunch of people know.
Right.
And unfortunately, people can be judgmental.
Yes.
And you may hurt your child by telling too many. I've worked with parents who've told too many.
Yes.
And their child was devastated. So really, who is your army? Who is your team? Keep it in that army and team.
You just don't want to share your child's pearl. It's a little pearl. And you want only a trusted one or two to have the privilege of carrying that pearl and knowing it, because it's precious.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you talking about this hard topic today. And hopefully, parents, if any of you are needing this information, that's been helpful to you. And really seek help. You don't have to do this alone. And I believe in all of you. You can do it. You can help your teen through a really hard time. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.